Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be looking at how to make a hoodie in Blender. Now before we get started, I just want to tell you that in this tutorial I'm going to be using sections of an older tutorial that I made a few years ago, and it doesn't really matter because it shouldn't actually affect anything too much because it's the same sort of modeling workflow. But there are a few things that I've changed and corrected where I've made a few little mistakes using a newer version of Blender. So I've kind of cut them together. So, you know, it's not a conspiracy. I'm letting you know right up front that that is the case. But yeah, it should still give you a really good idea because this is a really good tutorial. And the end result is going to be this hoodie here. Yeah, I'll be putting the final result on my Patreon. I'll put a link to that in the description if you want to join that to support the channel. If not, you can still watch this tutorial and make this in Blender 4.4, which is the current build, should work fine. And you should get the same sort of result. So let's jump in, and I hope you guys enjoy. Okay, so we're all going to be starting on frame 1 where our character is in the T pose. So make sure whatever character you're working with, it is in a T pose to start with, or maybe even a Y pose in some cases. You might want to go for that, but in this case I'm just going with a generic T pose. So what we're going to do in our front orthographic view, we're going to go Shift A, and we're going to go to our mesh options. We're going to add in a plane to start off with. This plane selector, we're going to go G, Z, and move it up to about the waist of the character here. And what we're going to do is we're going to tab into edit mode, and with this geometry selected, we're going to go RX90 and hit enter. Then going to go into our right orthographic view, and we're going to go G and move this guy forward. And let's just scale that plane down. So scale it down like that. Then go back into your front view. And we also want to just go to our modifiers, and let's give this guy a mirror modifier. Let's go GX in our front orthographic view, move it to the side. Then come over here and enable clipping. Then if we go G and we move this back in, it'll clip together. So now that that is set up, let's go G, Z, and bring it down to about here. So we want the bottom of this to be here with the crotches. And I know that seems quite low, but once this simulation actually runs, things will kind of tighten up around the body. So let's go with something like that. Then we're going to select these two top vertices, and we're going to go E, so we're going to go G, just move them in a little bit, and then E to extrude them up to under the armpits here. So we're going to go right there, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go E to extrude one more time, and we're going to extrude up to here, and we're going to go R to rotate it like that. And I'm going to grab this vertex and just go G and move them down. And then grab this guy and just move it here, like that. In fact, maybe not so much. Let's just leave it right there for now. Okay, and then we're going to come in here, Control R, add in another loop cut. We're going to grab this vertex here. We're going to go G and just move it up to here. So these two vertices here are kind of in line with the angle of the shoulder here. Okay, so they're the same kind of flow. So what we're going to do is also grab this vertex and just move it down a bit, and grab this one and move it down. So what we're trying to do is just roughly square out the geometry. So I'm going to grab this vertex, kind of bring it down just a bit, and then Control R to add in a loop cut here. So all of these should be roughly, all of these squares should be roughly the same size. What we don't want is any kind of like rectangles like this, because those won't simulate well. So just like that. And I know it's really low poly, but that's just kind of our starting position. Eventually we will add in more details. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're also going to grab this vertex and this vertex. We're going to go into a right orthographic view. We're going to go G, Y, and just move this back till it's about there, but we don't want it intersecting with the mesh. And we're also going to grab this vertex, G, Y, and just move that in a bit like that. Maybe not so much, just a little bit further away. And then what we can do is grab this vertex, this one, and this one, go G, Y, and just move it in a bit. So we're not trying to make it completely around the character, but just kind of still a little bit flat, because the cloth simulation will do the rest of the work for us. So now we have that set up. Let's select this vertex, and we're going to go Shift D to duplicate, bring it over here. Okay, hit your top view, and then we're going to go E to extrude. We're going to extrude to the armpit here. And then we're going to just rotate it a bit, and then we're going to go E to extrude to just a little bit past the bottom of the arm here, or where the wrist starts, and just move that out a little bit. So like that.
Just grab this guy, move it forward a bit. So we're just trying to kind of match it along the arm. And we can just select these vertices here and just rotate them as well, just so that it's a little bit more flat. Okay, so just something like that. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna come in here, Control R, add in another loop cut, and then Control R, add in a loop cut here. And what we wanna kind of achieve here is a matching number of vertices. So you can see here we have 3 verts, and over here we have 3 of them as well. So later on, we can grab these and we can bridge them. But we won't do that right now. But if I, for example, had 4 vertices over here, so I'll quickly give you an example. And then I try to bridge it with this. This is what will happen. It'll have kind of like this weird stuff going on. So we don't want that situation. Otherwise we get the triangles and that's not gonna work. So just make sure to always match up the edge flow. Okay, so once we've done that, we can come in here, Control R, we're gonna add in a loop here, Control R, add in a loop here, Control R, double click for there, and then Control R, double click, add in a cut here, and then also here, like that. And then we're gonna come in here, Control R, add in a loop cut here, and we also wanna once again make sure these are roughly squares. We don't want any rectangles like that. Once we've done that, we can come in here, Control R, add in a loop here, Control R, double click, Control R, double click, like that, and then Control R, add in a loop here, Control R, double click, and then the same thing up here. And then what I'm going to do is just select these vertices here, double G, and just slide them down. As long as we have, the same amount of vertices here as over here, so we can bridge those. Okay. Okay, so that's looking okay. Let's have a think about it. So once you're happy with the way that looks and it's all lined up, you can hit A to select everything, right click and subdivide. So now we have a better number of vertices there. Okay, so before we go any further, what we're also going to do is we're going to go Shift D to duplicate, and then G, Y, and we're going to move this back, so move it back onto Y. Okay, and then we're going to go S, Y, -1, and it's going to invert that for us like that. Okay, now that's all good for the back part here, but when it comes to the arm piece, that's not quite correct. So what we can do is just select a vertex on this arm piece here, Control L just to select the whole thing, X and delete. Then just select this arm piece here by itself, and then in our top view, Shift D, Y, and just move it back like that. And the thing that's good about this is we still have the same amount of vertices here on this edge as over here as well, so we can also bridge that. What I'm going to do, I'm going to select this edge here, enable proportional editing, and make sure connected only is enabled. And then if we go to your right view and you rotate it like this, and then G, Y, move it back, you can kind of just line it up with that edge there. Doesn't have to be perfect, but just close enough like that. Okay, so now we have this edge here and this edge here, same amount of vertices, and we can bridge them later on like that. Okay, that's good. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to our edge select here, and we're going to click on this edge here, and then we're going to go Control and Alt, or Command and Alt, and then click on this edge up here like that. And then we're going to hold in Shift, select this bottom edge here, and then Shift and Control, and click on this top edge here. So we have the same amount of edges selected here as on this side here because they're mirrored. Then we're going to go Control E, and we're going to go Bridge Edge Loops. And now it's bridged that for us, like that. And we've stopped under the armpit here, where this edge starts here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to select this edge here. Then holding Shift and Control, we're going to click on this edge. And then just holding Shift, select this, and then Shift and Control, select this edge. So both edges are selected. They have equal amount of edges. I'm going to go Control E, Bridge Edge Loops. And let's do the same thing back here, okay? So just bridging these edge loops here as well. That's good. And then we're going to select this edge here, holding in Shift and Control, select this edge. Holding in Shift, click on this edge, and then Control, Shift, click on this edge. So now we have equal amount of edges selected. We're going to go Control E, Bridge Edge Loops. And let's do the same thing down the bottom here. Okay, I'm going to select this and this. Just these edges here. Oops. So what am I doing? Okay, just these edges, Control E, bridge edge loops, like that. So you can see there. And then we can just select this edge and this edge, hit F to fill that. And we're just bridging the edge loops here. Okay, so these ones as well, select that edge, and then the edge that mirrors it in the front here, Control E, and then bridge edge loops, like that. And we're gonna leave the neck open. And we're also gonna leave the bottom open like that. So that's all good, but what we need to do now is go to our face select option, then click on this face, and then holding in Shift Control, click on this one at the end. Then we're gonna go X, and we're gonna go only faces. So we're only deleting the faces, but leaving the edges. And we're gonna go to the bottom face here, click on that, holding in Control and Shift, we're gonna click on this bottom one here. That one in the armpit, and we're gonna hit X and delete all of these faces in here, leaving the edges. So the top like that, and at the bottom like this. Okay, we're also gonna click on this face, holding in Shift, Control, click on this bottom face, and we're gonna hit X and only faces. So we've deleted this whole row of faces here. And that's really starting to come together. It's looking really nice. And what we can also do is just go over to our vertex select option while we still have proportional editing enabled. At the back here, we can select this vertex, go G, Z, just bring it up like that, and then R just to rotate it down a bit. And I'm rolling my middle mouse button to control the fall off. So we're just trying to kind of not make it as V-necked at the back, but at the front, we're gonna leave it slightly V-necked like this. It just looks a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. Okay, so what we can also do is add some decorative pieces. So let's start here with the sleeve. So I'm gonna go to my top orthographic view, go to wireframe, select these vertices here, and while we still have proportional editing enabled, I'm gonna just rotate this bit by bit, and then moving it just to kind of straighten that sleeve out with the hand, like that. Okay, and then I'm gonna go Shift Alt, click on this edge, and I'm just gonna select all of these vertices here. I'm gonna go Shift D in my top orthographic view. So my top orthographic view, Shift D, move it forward like that, and then I'm gonna go E to extrude, and then S to scale a little bit, like that, and then E to extrude one more time, just to cover up the hand like that. And now we can just loop select these vertices here, select these vertices here. And because they're the same amount of vertices, if we go Control E and we go bridge edge loops, it'll bridge that. We're then gonna hit X and only faces. And then we're gonna go to our face select, select this face here, this one here, and these two at the bottom, and then hit X and only faces. So now we have that. Okay, so that's a little extra decorative sleeve piece. And then we can go to the bottom here, go to vertex select, go to your front orthographic view, hit Z to go into wireframe, and then box select these bottom vertices, E to extrude, and then Z to go down like this, and then E to extrude Z and go down one more time. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go to our face select option, Shift Alt, click on one of these faces here to edge loop selected, hit X and only faces. Okay, so now we have like this little decorative edge at the bottom. Also just select this face here and hit X, only faces. Okay, so let's try our first simulation. We are going to add the hoodie in a second, so just tab out of edit mode, go to object mode, and make sure to enable shade smooth. And it's also a good time to just grab it and save it somewhere. So I'm just going to save this just in case I lose it. Before you run the simulation, it's always a good thing to do. With this cloth selected, or the shirt, we're going to go to our cloth settings here, and if you have scaled this in object mode, make sure to go Control A and just apply your scale. We're then going to give this guy a cloth, and we're going to actually just come down to our if we go all the way down here to the shape, and we come down, we can enable sewing, and we're going to come here to this max sewing force. We're going to make it 12 for now, and this may vary depending on the scale of things and what you're working with. But for now, I'm just going to go with 12, and I'm going to make this shrinking factor here 0.1. If you make this shrinking factor too high or the sewing force too high, you can get sometimes where it just shrivels up into the body. So just keep that in mind as well. We also want to come down and just enable self-collision, so the mesh geometry itself of the cloth simulation will actually interact with itself. Now, obviously, if we want to run the simulation, we also need to interact with the character. So select the mesh of whatever your cloth is simulating on top of. So in this case, it says female character. Until in your physics tab, we're going to give that female character a collision. Then we're going to come down to the thickness outer down here in the soft body and cloth, make this 0.01, and then come to the thickness outer, make it 0.01. Essentially, that's just going to close the gap in between the cloth and the actual character itself here. Because sometimes it just looks like the cloth is just floating on the skin and it's not actually making any contact. So just make those factors really small. Also, if you don't want the cloth to have a whole bunch of slipping, you could also up the friction here under the collision for the character mesh, but I'm not going to do it in this case. I'm just going to leave it as default. So let's get back to our mesh here. Our cloth, just select it. And I'm on frame 1. This character is in a T pose and will animate gradually. So let's just hit the spacebar to play the simulation. And we can see here everything snaps together beautifully. We have the start of a really nice hoodie here. Now obviously it doesn't look like a hoodie because we don't yet have the hoodie part of it. But you can see here it's slowly simulating. Character is going from a T pose back into kind of just like a normal resting pose, and that just gives us a good opportunity here to see how this simulation works. How does you can kind of just see the hoodie taking shape here. Okay, we got the start of something. Now to make this also stand out a bit, I'm just going to select this mesh, the close. I'm going to go to my material editor, click on new. Go to the viewport display and just give this a viewport display color, just so we can kind of see it standing out from the actual character mesh, so we can see if there's any kind of unnecessary intersection or whatever. And I just like the way it looks aesthetically as well. Okay, so we won't let the whole thing run now, but let's just go back to frame 1. So we now know that this itself is okay. So now we're going to add the hoodie part to this hoodie. And so this is just a jumper, the hoodie's going on it, and that can be a little bit tricky, so just follow along with what I'm doing and I'll explain that as best I can, and we can just make that part. Okay, so what we're going to do to get started with the hoodie is obviously select our cloth here. We're going to go into edit mode, and what we're going to do is we're going to go to an edge select option here, and we're going to go Shift Alt, click on this edge here, just to, probably not a good idea because it'll actually select this whole edge. So this is select this edge here, holding in Shift and Control, click on this edge. So we just want this edge here selected, and we want it to end where the collar or the sleeve starts over here. So just these 4 like that. And what we're going to do is we're going to go Shift D to duplicate them and just move them up like that. And then G, Y, and just move them in a bit closer to the neck, like that. And then we're going to go E to extrude and Z, and we're going to extrude this up all the way to the top like that. And this is disable proportional editing for now. Then we're going to go S, Z, and just flatten those edges. So S, Z, just flatten it on the Z. And then what we're going to do, don't worry about it intersecting with the face. We're going to just maybe go G, Y, and move it forward just a little bit. And then we're going to go Control R over here and just roll in some cuts. We're going to roll in enough till these kind of look like squares that are kind of almost the same size, like that. And then what we need to do is we need to select this edge here, holding in Shift, just select these 4 as well at the back. So it should be the same number as whatever you have here at the front, but coming to a stop where the sleeve starts here. And at the back here, you select this edge all the way up to where the sleeve starts over here. So if that's 4 selected, we're going to go Shift D to duplicate, move them up, move them in a little bit like that, and then E to extrude, Z, bring it up to here. And G, Y, move it forward a bit, S, Z to flatten it like this, and then Control R to roll in some cuts like that. Now, what we want to do, we also want to make sure that these edges kind of line up with these edges. So let's start by selecting this edge, holding in Shift, select this edge and hit F to fill it. And then we're going to go holding in Shift, we're going to click on this edge. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's just go with 8 for now. And then still holding Shift, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So now we have equal selection here. We can go Control E or Command E and bridge edge loops. And now we can see we have 1 too many here. So let's just select this edge here, hit X and delete vertices. So now it's even. And what we're going to do is we're going to select this whole edge here, E to extrude, Z to go up to here, So extrude it up, and then we can select this edge here, holding and shift select this edge here, hit F to fill it in, and then we're going to do the same thing with this. Just select this, hit F to fill it in, and then this edge and this edge, F to fill it in, and then we can go Control R and roll in 3 cuts over here, or maybe even more. So I'm going to go with about 5, just so we see the squares up here as well, like that. And then we're going to come in here, Control R, and roll in the same amount. So in this case we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to come over here, Control R, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. And now we can just Shift Alt click on this loop here to loop selected, and then we can go Control F and we can go to Grid Fill, and that'll fill that for us. Okay, so now we have this forming here. What we can also do is, with our face select enabled, we can select these faces here. So I'm just going to hit C to bring up the C select tool. I'm going to select these faces in here all the way down to here, but not these ones. So just leaving a border of edges around here, and I'm going to hit X and delete faces. Then I'm just going to go edge select, enable proportional editing, select this edge. I'm going to go G, just move this up like that. I'm also just going to grab this edge here. Okay, and I'm just going to go Control plus to grow the selection, go to the smooth tool, and also just smooth that out a little bit. Just like that. So we're just forming the hoodie around here. Also just going to grab this edge, Control plus to grow it, and just smoothing that out as well. Okay, so that's looking a lot better, and it'll look really awesome once we also simulate it. Okay, so what we need to do now is actually attach the hoodie. So let's start by selecting these edges over here, and you can see we have 4 selected, and we're going to select the same 4 edges that mirror to the bottom here. So these 4 over here, and then these 4 edges. We're going to go Control E and then Bridge Edge Loops. And then we're going to do the same thing with these 4 edges here. Just select them, and then select these 4 edges here, and Control E, Bridge Edge Loops. And now where the tricky part comes in, we also need to obviously go to Face Select, select these faces here, select these faces here, X and delete only faces. And at the moment, the issue we're going to run into when these snap together, all of these are not going to have a point to snap to because there's no matching number of verts over here. So what we can do is cheat a little bit. So go to our vertex select option, select this vertex, this one, this one, this one, and this one, and then we're going to go F3, we're going to type in merge, and we're going to go merge at center. Okay, so select these ones here, just scale them a bit like that. Okay, I know that looked a little bit confusing, but what we're also going to do is select this vertex here, holding and shift select this vertex, and then hit F to fill it. I'm just going to make an edge there, and then we're going to do the same thing here. Select these two, hit F, and it'll just make an edge, but not a face. And now what we can do is tab out of edit mode, and in frame 1, let's just hit the space bar, and let's just see the simulation run. Cool. So there you can see we have a nice looking hoodie simulation. Just select the cloth itself, go to Object and Shade Smooth. And if you see any of this weird shading, just tab into edit mode, hit A to select everything, then go Control N and recalculate outside, and it'll fix those normal issues. So if you go back to frame 1 and you hit the spacebar, you can see the simulation doesn't have any of that funky shading. So there we have the actual hoodie on. So this is a style of hoodie. If you don't want it to kind of like pinch together here on the side, you can make things a little bit different, but I find that it doesn't really hurt anything to do it that kind of way. So there's a lot of different styles of hoodies out there, but once you're happy with that, we can kind of refine things a little bit. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the hoodie, tab into edit mode, and let's just make things look a little bit cooler here. So let's just select this loop of vertices in here. I'm going to go to our right view, we're going to go G, and just kind of move them forward a little bit. And once again, just smooth them out with that smooth tool selected. And then we're going to go Shift D to duplicate, and we're going to go Alt S, or just maybe S, and just scale it down. And then G, X, move it in a bit. And then we're going to go E to extrude, and then S to scale it, but make sure to disable proportional editing, obvious. So S to scale it, G to move it in a bit. We're just creating this extra little section at the front here. G, Y, move it forward. And with this bit, we're going to just loop select these vertices here and these ones here. Control E and bridge edge loops. Hit X and only faces. So now we have that. If we tab out of edit mode and we go back to frame 1 and we hit spacebar, we're going to see we now have this like rim around here, which just looks cool. And it's also kind of like a windbreaker kind of style of hoodie. So also just enable shade smooth of that. So yeah, that's what we have so far of the hoodie. It's looking pretty cool. Yeah, we can also see that the wrists over here are kind of weird. So let's just tab into edit mode of those. Let's just select these vertices here. We're going to go S, Z, but enable proportional editing. So S, Z, and just scale it down on the Z a bit. Like that. Tab out of edit mode. And let's just try that again. So let's just check out that simulation. Okay, so that's a bit better now with the wrists. So we can really see this is coming together. I don't quite like the how it's pulling up on here. So what I'm going to do in edit mode is I'm just going to select these in front view. I'm going to select these vertices here. Choose these ones here. With proportional editing enabled, I'm going to go G and just move them down very close to the shoulder here. And grab these guys, just move them down a bit. So just like that, tab out of edit mode, go to your first frame and hit spacebar, and let's just see what that looks like. Okay, that's looking quite a lot better. Okay, so it's really getting together here. I'm not liking the squareness of this up here, so what I'll do is in my front view, I'm just going to select these vertices over here. I'm going to go G, just move them in closer to the head with proportional editing enabled. And just trying to select some of these vertices here, just smoothing them out a bit. So we just want it roughly kind of like wrapped up around the character till everything looks okay. Tab out of edit mode and just keep running the simulation, making little refinements where you can. Okay, so I'm happy with the hoodie at the moment. It's starting to look really cool. So what I'm going to do next is, what we're going to do is add on some modifiers here. So let's select the hoodie, go to our modifiers tab. We've got our mirror here, then we've got our cloth. So on top of that, we're going to add a subdivision surface modifier. Don't worry about this funny shading going on here. So on top of that, we're going to also add a solidify. And now what we're going to do is, you can mess around with the thickness, but I'm going to kind of just leave it at default. So it just gives a little bit of thickness to this. And also if you bump up the levels on the viewport here for the subdivision surface modifier, things are also going to look a lot nicer. But for now, we'll just keep that down to 1, or you can even disable it in the viewport if it just slows down your computer too much. Okay, so now the hoodie looks like it's got some thickness to it. It actually is starting to look like cloth. However, there are still some things we can refine. So let's go ahead and actually apply the mirror. So come here to the drop down and we're going to apply the mirror. Then we're going to tab into edit mode. And let's just come here to the subdivision tab and just disable this button and this button so we can see what we're doing. So what we're going to do is we're going to go Shift Alt, click on this edge here. We're going to edge select these vertices, also these ones here, all the way up to the top here, and then we're going to hit X and delete vertices. Then we're going to Shift Alt, click on this edge, and we're going to loop select that edge, select this edge, these verts down here, and then these guys here, just selecting all of them. So we can see it's a perfect match on this side and this side. Control E and go bridge edge loops, and then hit X and only faces. And then what we can do is the same thing with our hoodie here. Select this edge, all the way down to the back, hit X and delete verts. Then select this edge, this guy as well, just those ones, and then you're going to hit Control E, bridge edge loops, X, only faces, and then we need to select this vertex, holding Shift select this one, hit F to bridge that, and then select these two, hit F to bridge that with an edge. And now, if we tab out of edit mode, go to our first frame and we hit the spacebar to run the simulation, it's gonna look really awesome. So now we have something that looks more like a hoodie. And yeah, it's looking pretty cool. Now, it's not looking as good as it can because we haven't bumped up some of the quality settings yet. So select the hoodie. We're gonna go to our cloth settings here. And let's go over here to the quality steps at the top, bump that up to about 8. And then also we need to come to self-collision, bump that up to about 8 as well. And then we're going to come to the distance here under the object collision and make it 0.001. And then we're going to come down to the self-collision, make the distance here 0.001 as well. Go to our first frame, hit spacebar again, and now let's simulate it. It's going to take a bit longer this time, but it should be a bit nicer and you should get less of those gaps. Okay, so that's going to be really slow. So what we actually need to do is just bake this out. So once you're happy with the actual simulation itself, select the hoodie, and you're going to go over to, under your physics tab, you're going to go to your cache. In this case, you can see my animation is 120 frames long, so I'm going to make the end value here 120, and that's just going to be the amount of time that this simulation actually caches out. Make sure to save it, very important, and then you're going to hit bake, and it's going to slowly go for each frame for this animation and just kind of bake this out. And that's essentially just going to store that cache that data into this blend file. So every time we open it up, we don't have to keep running this simulation. It'll just be ready to go because it's all baked into the blend file. So I'm going to let this kind of bake out. I'll come back, we'll have a look at it, and then we can play around with some of the other modifiers and just make it look really cool. Okay, so now it's finished with the caching. So let's go to frame 1 and let's just play that animation. So now we can see this is what our hoodie is looking like. Okay, so now she goes from the T pose to just the resting pose. And I'm just going to pause it and just going to move around and you can kind of see what this is looking like. Now if we actually grab this hoodie, go to our modifiers here, I'm going to go to the subdivision surface modifier and just bump up the level here. That looks a little bit nicer. Now when you get sort of like these areas where the gaps won't close and things are kind of stretching in too much, that's probably because you can mess around with the settings as much as you want with the cloth, but at the end of the day, sometimes you just need to actually make the actual, when you're editing, you need to actually give it more mesh to work with. So maybe just scale up the actual jacket a bit at certain points, just play around with the vertices till you kind of get that minimized. Now that's totally up to you. You can spend as much time as you want, but I'm going to leave it at that as far as the simulation goes. So with it all cached out, what we're going to do now is just select the hoodie. And just for a bit of visual interest, we'll go over to the materials tab and we'll just click, let's just get rid of this material. We'll create a new material. Let's just call it blue. I think that'll look good. And under the viewport, I'm going to make it kind of like a bluish color. I'll take the roughness up. I always just think it looks nice to present it this way. And then I'll go plus and I'll go new and I'll create a material, just call it orange. And let's go ahead and give it orange. And then we'll just kind of like select some of these inside bits, the little inside strips like that, and we'll give them that material. I just kind of think that gives it a lot more interest. And obviously we can go ahead and kind of like work on these materials inside of the shader editor to make them really stand out. But for now, I'm just keeping things really simple. And I'll grab this side over here. Keeping things really, really straightforward. There we go. And I'll kind of up the roughness on that. So now we have kind of like these two contrasting colors. So there we go, that's looking really, really good. So we'll be uploading this final result to my Patreon. So you can check that out in the description if you want to join Patreon. It's a great way to support the channel. And you can also check out some other content. I make a lot of cool stuff, especially on like animation and cloth. I've got hundreds of videos, so you can go check them out. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.